At its peak, the British Empire controlled 25% of the entire planet. 1 in 4 human beings on Earth lived under the British Crown. It was the largest empire in the history of civilization, spanning every continent, every ocean, every time zone. They said the sun never sets on the British Empire. They were right. But today, that empire is gone. How did the most powerful empire in human history, built over 400 years, collapse in just a few decades? This is the story of the rise and fall of the British Empire. It began not with conquest, but with curiosity. In 1497, King Henry VII sent explorer John Cabot across the Atlantic. Cabot reached North America, planting the first seeds of what would become a global empire. But Britain was not the first European power to explore the world. Spain and Portugal had already claimed vast territories in the Americas and Asia. Britain was late, and being late made them hungry. In 1600, Queen Elizabeth I established the East India Company, a private trading corporation that would eventually become one of the most powerful organizations in human history. It had its own army, its own navy, its own laws. It was not just a company. It was an empire within an empire. Over the next 150 years, Britain systematically built the foundations of global dominance. In North America, British settlers established 13 colonies along the eastern coast. In the Caribbean, British plantation owners grew rich beyond imagination, built on the backs of enslaved Africans. Between 1640 and 1807, Britain transported over 3 million African people across the Atlantic in what became known as the transatlantic slave trade, one of the greatest crimes in human history. In India, the East India Company expanded its reach year by year. In 1757, at the Battle of Plassey, British forces defeated the Nawab of Bengal. From that moment, India began its transformation from a trading partner into a conquered territory. Britain was no longer just trading with the world, it was owning it. By the mid-18th century, Britain faced its greatest rival, France. For decades, the two empires clashed across the globe. Then came Napoleon. For 20 years, Napoleon Bonaparte attempted to dominate Europe and challenge British power. But in 1815, at the Battle of Waterloo, Napoleon was finally defeated. Britain stood alone as the undisputed master of the world. The Industrial Revolution made Britain even more powerful. Steam engines, railways, factories, iron and steel. Britain became the workshop of the world. With industrial power came military power. The Royal Navy ruled every ocean, and so the empire expanded further. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, Kenya, Burma, Malaya, Hong Kong. By 1900, the British Empire covered 13.7 million square miles, 1/4 of the entire surface of the Earth, 500 million people, 58 countries, 1 crown. It seemed unstoppable, but beneath the surface, cracks were already forming. In 1857, Indian soldiers serving in the British Army rose up in revolt. The Indian Rebellion shook the empire to its core. It was brutally suppressed, but it revealed something the British could never fully ignore. The people they ruled did not want to be ruled. In 1867, Canada became the first British colony to gain self-governance. In South Africa, the Boer War of 1899 to 1902 was a disaster. Britain fought against Dutch settlers called Boers and nearly lost. The war cost Britain 22,000 soldiers and exposed serious weaknesses in the imperial military machine. For the first time, the world saw that Britain could be beaten. Meanwhile, a new power was rising in Europe, Germany. The continent was becoming a powder keg, and in June 1914, it exploded. When World War I began, Britain entered immediately. The British Empire mobilized on a massive scale. Soldiers came not just from Britain, but from India, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and South Africa. Nearly 9 million men served under the British flag. The war was supposed to be over by Christmas 1914. It lasted 4 years. At the Battle of the Somme in 1916, Britain suffered 57,470 casualties in a single day. It remains the bloodiest day in British military history. By 1918, Germany was defeated, but the cost was catastrophic. Over 900,000 British soldiers were dead. The national debt had multiplied tenfold, and across the empire, something had changed forever. The soldiers who had fought and died for Britain returned home asking a simple question: if we are good enough to die for Britain, why are we not good enough to govern ourselves? The empire had no answer. Just 20 years after the end of World War I, the world was at war again. In September 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain declared war. The early years were catastrophic. France fell in 6 weeks. Singapore, Britain's most important fortress in Asia, fell to Japan in 1942 in what Winston Churchill called the worst disaster and largest capitulation in British history. But Britain held on. The Royal Air Force won the Battle of Britain. American and Soviet power eventually turned the tide. In 1945, World War II ended with Allied victory. But Britain was broken. The national debt stood at 250% of GDP. Cities had been bombed to rubble. America, now the world's dominant power, did not believe in empires. The age of British dominance was over. What followed was the fastest dismantling of an empire in human history. It began with India. On August 15, 1947, India gained independence. But the end was not peaceful. The partition of India and Pakistan resulted in one of the largest mass migrations in human history. 14 million people displaced. Up to 2 million killed in religious violence. Then came Egypt. In 1956, Egyptian President Nasser nationalized the Suez Canal. Britain launched a military intervention. America said no. Under American pressure, Britain was forced to withdraw from the Suez Britain itself that it was no longer a superpower. The floodgates opened. Ghana, 1957. Nigeria, 1960. Kenya, 1963. Zambia, 1964. Rhodesia, 1980. By 1980, the British Empire was gone. So why did the British Empire collapse? It was not one reason. It was many. 2 world wars that drained Britain's wealth and manpower. The rise of nationalism across Asia and Africa. The emergence of America as the new global superpower. The simple, unstoppable truth that no people will accept foreign domination forever. The British Empire built the modern world, its language, its legal systems, its trade routes, its borders. But it also left behind scars that the world is still healing today. It was an empire of extraordinary achievement, and extraordinary cruelty. And like every empire before it, it fell. Because nothing lasts forever. Subscribe to History Drop for more world history every week.